Before I end the stream, guys, I just wanted to give some thoughts about what happened with the NLC and so forth. Just because I'm going to get so many questions, I figured I would just get it out of the way. First thing that I should address, right? First thing that should address is that, like, a lot of people were telling me that Crowny and Nemesis were hate watching. They really, really weren't. They were watching as pro players. They were looking at the game. They were sympathetic to the situation. They were not hate watching at all. Just because what they were watching was ugly, sometimes you gotta say some ugly things. They were very, very good sports. They were streaming. They were chilling. And I really, really don't like when people like use their words as a form of weaponization. I really, really don't like that. Crowny, Nemesis, very, very good guys. I think that they were just watching the games as pro players, you know? They have good experience. They're looking at it for what it is. And it ain't that deep, man. It's like I really, really didn't like that proposition. Because I watched some segments of what they were talking, how they were talking. I think it was really cool, man. I think it's okay. They were really, really cool. So shout out to them, you know. It's all good, you know. Only love. It's a common thing, right? It's like where people try to instigate and people have like their own perspectives. They want to try to create drama, and that's okay. You know, we're above that, and that's fine. We accept that happens, and we accept that that's, you know, a part of the game. That's okay, you know. In regards to us, I should start about myself, right? I should start about myself in terms of, you know, my shortcomings and my mistakes. I think that, you know, in terms of like building the roster, I do think that the expectations for what this would be was kind of all over the place, because I do think that players believed this is going to be easy. And the truth is, it's like, it's only easy if you put in the effort. And we really, really didn't, right? It was very, very frustrating to negotiate scrim hours, scrim days, and all that stuff. And there was a part of the group that was willing to do more because it was necessary to do more. And there was a part of the group that didn't buy into that, right? And that's fine, right? Because everyone came into this with their own personal interest, right? For me, in the beginning, I struggled with balancing the schedule and balancing like the content side to, of course, the coaching side. I don't know. For those who watch scrims, they probably noticed a big shift in terms of how I approach things after we lost the first best of 3, which is quite too late. Right? I should have been intense and I should have focused on the job, because that is the content in the end. In the beginning, I let some conversations that I would never let go and continue them in some ways because I perceived it as content. But somewhere along the line is like, we have to recognize that the content is like the team environment and the purity of it and us like showing our best. That's what people are interested in, you know? And if you have funny moments because Hamza's a funny guy, that's cool, you know, that's all right. But we played into that a little bit too heavy, you know? And I think in terms of balancing being a streamer and being the coach, I should just focus fully on coaching, which is something I did later. Because in the beginning, right, it's like LPL was starting, LCK was starting, LEC was starting. It's like I was pulling like 10, 12-hour streams, which is perfectly fine, right? That's okay. But in terms of my personal expectations and how I should approach that, I could have done a better job of finding like a better balance, because I was not so effective as a coach in the beginning. And that's my fault, right? That's just my fault. The other side of it, right, is it was extremely difficult to progress because we scrimmed so little. And that's something that I wanted to change. Like I was willing to change and I wanted to. It's just that, you know, people have had different expectations and different ideas of how this should have been. And I think that, you know, we have one side that is willing to scrim a lot and willing to work, like put in the effort. But some people saw this as an opportunity to just play the games, keep it simple, and, you know, just win the games. But the moment we faced resistance and things were getting tense, there is no leverage from my side to press, right? Like I was saying that I'm worried that people are going to leave, because that was like a conversation that was ongoing, you know? It's like the business proposition on our side isn't as lucrative and exciting as the Los Ratones one, right? It definitely isn't. And for us to succeed, everyone has to have the same vision for basically very, very late gratification. We were looking for quick gratification. And that's something that I tried to hammer home in the beginning, that I don't want to create this team just because we want to beat Los Ratones. I want to create this team because I want us to be their own thing. And Dom was a part of that. And of course, you know, Don Jake was also involved in this too. I made this clear. It's like we might, like, if we can't scrim Los Ratones and we don't play against them then it shouldn't be that, you know? It really, really shouldn't be that, because that's just bad. That's just bad. So from our position coming in as the underdog, our gratification comes a lot later. So we need to put in the effort, and we are not going to get the gratification in that moment in time. And I think for our group, when we didn't get the gratification instantly, where we dropped the game or the scrims are going rough, right? The motivation just disappeared. And I have no carrot and I have no stick, you know? I have no carrot and no stick. And the bottom line is, you kind of need to have a group that is excited to do the scrims. You need to have a group that wants to, you know, put effort into the scrims in that way. And keep in mind, this is not me launching like a personal attack on somebody or anything else, right? It's like, it's just a question of expectations. And I tried to set those, and I think I could have been a little bit more heavy-handed, but I think it also ties into how you build the team, right? And I think you guys can hint at it already. The team is not going to remain the same. It just ain't. The team is not going to remain the same. If for some reason, like I am a part of the ownership, you know, of the spots together with Dom and with Don Jake. It's like I'm a part of that. But if the roster is the same, I would bow out, you know. I would give up my spot, give up my equity, and just move on, you know. And in the end, you know, like I do think, I don't think anyone deserves any particular hate, you know. It's like people had their own reasons as to why they were demotivated. You know, I mentioned my own personal mistakes, right? I had a very, very hard time maneuvering around, like finding really strong conviction in draft too, because we had so little scrim data. Like we had to do, like the thing is, it's like we scrimmed so little, and then we also had conflicts, like in the sense that, you know, conflicts in the sense that we as a team, conflict is the wrong word. It's like, we had, like, let's say one person didn't have electricity, one person can't scrim that day, and then that happened. And then it's like, we scrim only 2 or 3 days, and then on top of that, you know, it's tough, you know, just complications. So I'm working with so limited data, and you have to piece it together. I watch pro play, and I have strong opinions on shit, but I also don't have the level of confidence due to the lack of info from scrims to make hard convicted calls. Like, for example, yesterday, right? Yesterday as an example. It's like, it's on me in the end, right? But we had a conversation about this Game 5 draft. I don't know why it's not showing. Let me refresh. It's just loading. This Game 5 draft, right? All my players are saying Mel is broken. And I say, guys, I really think Mel is not a strong champion. It's very, very specific when you want to pick it. I don't think this champion is good. Right now, there's many majors in the game. and I am worried about picking Mel. But my players, everyone was in agreement that Mel is giga broken, right? So I in that moment, if I had more conviction or if I trusted my gut more, it would have gone in that way, you know, and we would have just went. Because it's like, in my mind here, regardless of Poppy showing against Zeri and Javan, I think we should just stick to leader's strength. Because people like to talk bad about leader's champion pool, but I have to say, it's like leader, when he's playing shit like Yasuo, and when he's playing his champions, he does shit that nobody else does. Nobody else does. And he doesn't get credit for that, you know? And I build conviction through data and scrims. You know, I build conviction through that. And Mel is a very peculiar champion because it's new, right? It's very, very new. So I could have been more heavy-handed here. For example, here, in this one, here I was very, very confident. Because my team really wanted to ban Maokai, right? They really, really wanted to ban Maokai. Everyone wanted to ban Maokai. They said it's OP. I say, guys. First, I did the thing where I did with 2022 Fnatic. I say, guys, every champion we're going to be playing in this draft against Maokai first pick is going to be great against Maokai. We're going to be blind picking champions and setting up for champions that are going to be great against Maokai. We're going to have Silas angle on 3 into bans. We're going to set up Milio if they don't ban it. We have Kesante, Jinx, right? And I here, in this moment, I had conviction. I had so strong conviction that I convinced them in the end, you know? I convinced them. It was the same here, right? Like, I wanted to ban Lulu because I was afraid of Zeri Lulu because we were not ready to play it. I think it was a good call. We get Zyra Khan, I think that's perfectly fine. I know people are going to say Javan into Zaya is good, whatever. I get that, all right? But keep in mind, we're in Game 5 in Fearless. We have to stick to what we know how to play and keep it resembling something. And then here, when they go Poppy, sure, Poppy is cool into Rakan, but I think we should just stick to Akali because there's no answer into Akali in the game right now, right? Regardless of Poppy. I have the opinion that if Poppy needs to cancel every dash in the game, he just becomes way too busy in the game. It's like Poppy doesn't like automatically stop every dash in the game, right? It just doesn't work like that, you know? Even Rakan against Poppy is something that is playable, right? It's playable. Yeah? But nevertheless, my point is, I build this conviction through scrimming, through conversation, through spending time together, you know? That is very important for me, like spending time together. It's like, the reviews felt rushed. I didn't feel like people wanted to play the games. I had to negotiate for a 4th game in a lot of days. And that's just bad, you know? That's just bad for what we needed to do. And that's that, you know? That's that. And I don't blame anyone because I think everyone just had a set, you know, set expectations. You know, they had set expectations. Game 5 draft, I agree that it's terrible. It is terrible. It's like, I think Camille on 5 is correct. I think Camille on 5 into Garen showing, into what they're showing is 100% correct. Only Poppy is good into Camille here, right? It's good. Mel was the fuck up. Mel shouldn't have been picked here. Mel is really, really bad to pick here, period. Like, I should have had more conviction. I should have stuck to my guns here, right? 100% should have. The parasocial element of this, right, is just a consequence. It's just going to be a natural consequence of streaming scrims, right? It's a natural consequence of streaming scrims. I think people are going to insinuate a lot of things and people are not going to, like, respect the person behind everything. Because a big topic was that it's like bullying of hums, right? Bullying of hums is something that occurred. Hums in the beginning, right, was very, very resistant, right, to commentary. And he also played into it, right? He really, really played into it. And I think in the beginning, it was hard to understand the balance between, like, I didn't know sometimes if people are like playing things up or if they're not playing things up because I don't know them so well, right? We had the Gabagee, Gabagoo situation. Like if he says Gabagool in the middle of the game and you run it down, like you in the end made that decision, right? It's nothing to do with anything. Maybe it was confusing to you, but that's a separate point. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm listening to the call though. If he says Gabagoo, I'm gonna say Gabagee.
That's fine.
You do Gabagee.
But then you can't blame the Gabagee. You can't since you want to be since you want to bring the Gabagee. Now that you want to bring the Gabagee, that's your fault for making the Gabagee. If I do the play, that's your fault.
Slow.
No, you made the play. You told the play, so I did the play. And then don't get mad at me for the play. That's your fault.
Yo, Hamza.
Yo, Liddy, your calls are shit.
I think on that aspect, right? I do think that the relationship between Hums and Leader specifically was something that just drained energy in the end, you know? It definitely like drained energy in the end. And I think from outside, I think people mistook like our focus on macro ideas as a way of only pointing blame towards Hums or Hustling. Because the thing is, if we are going to spend time in review, like, thing is, it's like Perks broke his hands, perma. Jankos broke his hands, perma. It happened. But if I'm sitting there saying, yo, you should do this shit, you should play this lane better, it's like, I know, I'm just inting. It's like, if I spend time investing into that, when certain things just need to be ready before you go into scrims, it's not useful time of everybody involved. When Leader was doing macro mistakes or people doing macro mistakes, we called it out, you know? That was the main focus. And that is in no way excusing like individual misplays. It just ain't, right? It just ain't. No, of course we don't have bad feelings towards Jack. No way, of course not. We were very happy to get Hums on board. I was very happy that we got Hums. I think it made things like the silver lining of this is Hums. I think the silver lining. I think in the beginning, right? It's like Hums was settling into London and he wasn't playing much, and then he like grinded his face off on a new account, right? And then he started playing super well again. There was definitely like a period there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks where Hums was just like really inting. But then he like sat down, he grinded the shit out of the game, and it made such a big difference in his play. Really big difference. And this is something that we were pushing on him in the back, you know. Dom did, I did, and he also knew. And then he put in the effort, right? And that effort is rewarded, you know. That effort was definitely rewarded, you know. I think that he played really well, you know, for what the expectation should be. I already spoke to Hamza, but this off-season for us, I'm going to just work with him. I'm going to work with him, and I'm going to get him up to speed on all the concepts. I'm going to work super closely with him. Hopefully, like, we're going to go to Korea as well with Hamzi, and I'm going to work super close with him. I believe in Hamzi. I like Hamzi a lot, man. I think Hamzi is like an interesting aspect of this, you know, a very interesting aspect of it. So I'm really happy about Hamzi. But you also need to keep in mind, right? It's like in terms of the players too, like they are also dealing with many new elements, you know. They're streaming on Scrim. They're playing a different league. You know, there's many new elements for them too. Perks also, right, playing a new role. There was, you know, there was a lot of elements here that were new to them too. And I think to have understanding for that as well. I think like somewhere along the line, you know, when we had a bad start, it's like I didn't have anything to motivate them with. I really hadn't, you know. I didn't have anything to motivate them with, and it needs to just be internal because there's no money involved. They didn't have better viewership. And the thing is, the gratification comes very late. The gratification would have been us going to the finals. That should have been the gratification when we realize, oh, that's the cutoff point. Like usually, like this is a good indicator of where you're at, you know? It's like Hustling, we pulled him out of retirement. You know, we pulled Hassan out of retirement. I think that he was very patient. And he wasn't even streaming. I appreciate Hassan super much, you know. I think it's good, you know. It's like I think that he put in effort. And then I think Hamzi did a very good job. Like in the beginning, I think Hamzi was really slacking. Really slacking. I don't know why it's lagging so much. Hamzi was really slacking. He really put in the effort. He grinded games. He got like a very like nice win ratio, you know. He managed to peak in Challenger. You know, I respect this a lot because it really had an impact on his play. Jankos was grinding. I think like somewhere along the line, right, it's like Perks lost motivation, right? And, you know, I have understanding for that, you know, because it's like in the end, I think that he had the idea that this would be like easy, right? This would have been easy and he could just like, you know, breeze his way through it. And then when there was like resistance, he just wasn't feeling it. And I get that, you know, from Perks' perspective. I get that, you know? Because in the end, it's like, Perks had very, very good macro ideas. When the game was in a good state for him, he was carrying the games, guys. He was carrying the games. But like most of his mistakes came from like top lane inexperience. Just top lane inexperience, right? Which he doesn't have experience in, right? It's like he had never played fucking Camille Garen matchup in his life. And maybe even if he played solo, he wouldn't have played that matchup in his life, right? Regardless of what top laner it is against, whether it's Mietek or Drutut or Baus, these guys have still put in like 10, 15, 20, 30,000 games into top lane, right? I think Jankos, you know, Jankos as a player, I think he put in a lot of effort. He cares a lot. And I don't think this was like a good environment for what he wants. But I am very aligned with what Jankos wants in the team. Like I am very, very aligned with what Jankos wants to get out of this team. And that's what we should lean into. Because at the end of the day, I don't mind if we are not the best team in the NLC. I just want the scrim days to feel rewarding. Yeah, you know? I want to feel like we're getting better. I want to feel like people care. I want to feel like everyone's, like my effort is rewarded, you know? That's the main thing. I think that we could have done a better job of helping Hums too and being patient with him. And I think that it's like, when you have a character that is inexperienced in pro play, you need to have, you know, a very, very mature approach from everybody else, you know? And if you compare it to, for example, Los Ratones, it's like, I'm sure Nemesis and Crowny have moments where they are going insane over what Baus does and Baus says. But you have to always keep the perspective that you can't take for granted your own experience and then like force that onto other people, right? I think that the key thing is, you know, if we're going to get people involved, they need to be okay with this taking some time before it is very, very rewarding, you know? I need people involved that are willing to put in the effort and get the long-term gratification rather than the short-term. Like, there's no ill will towards any player, nothing, guys, nothing. I have understanding for what they did and how they approach things, you know. There's a lot of like learnings from the mistakes that we did. A lot of learnings that we can do from the mistakes that we did. And if we don't apply that, I don't want to do this, you know. Because at the end of the day, I feel like effort is wasted, time is wasted, and I could have just taken the approach where I don't do anything and I co-stream. And then I just watch the Los Ratones stuff, you know? I watch them, follow them, because that's super interesting to me, you know? That's super, super interesting to me. Can you name some good points about the team to end it on a positive? I do think that, like, there were moments where things looked good, you know? There were definitely moments where things looked good. I think there were moments of passion. I think that Hamza is really fucking funny.